we have Levon's truck on the dyno. I'll have him tell you the setup on it, and then we'll make a couple of dyno pulls on it and see what kind of power we can make out of it.
Alright, so just a 6.7 stock bottom end. It's got a 2.5 charger from Chris from ED, extra G 250 over injectors, pretty much extreme duty push rods. The whole top end's done, but stock bottom end, dual fuelers, fast 250. That's pretty much it.
Alright, so after a few flashes on Levon's truck, we were able to squeeze 799 horsepower out of it. He has enough fuel, has extra G 250%, so it's enough fuel for at least 1,200 horsepower. We ran out of air on it, so pretty much we squeezed as much power out of it as the turbo would allow us. So we will get him off the dyno and send him on the way.
On Charity case, after Rudy's, I know we had probably said that we had some issues, some engine failure issues with it, and we ended up tearing it down last night and into this morning, and found our problem. We ended up actually basically destroying a cylinder wall. It is a unsleeved 5.9 block, and the cylinder wall basically it just exploded, chunked off, and that was our issue. So now we need a new block. We're actually swapping from a mechanical engine to a common rail, and we're gonna do a lot more stuff with that to get it a little bit more consistent on the track, so we're not running into issues that we were having. We also, we didn't really know exactly what happened with it, and now knowing, we actually started the truck 3 or 4 times and moved it around, put it in the trailer, drove it into the shop and that sort of thing, not knowing that it was missing a whole side of cylinder wall. So along the way, it actually looks like the piston is actually in pretty good shape. It rolled the oil ring on the piston, but other than that, surprisingly, it stayed together somewhat for the damage that was done. So just, yeah, another good thing, I guess, if you have a high horsepower application and you're pushing a lot of boost and that kind of stuff, that's another reason why we like a sleeved engine over a stock engine, because they last longer. They don't do this.
Today we have an 06 here doing what we call a one day. Customer bringing us the truck, and we had a transmission already built yesterday, and so now I'm in the spot. I just got a transmission wire. I just pull it out. Now we got a fresh unit ready to go back in, and then we don't have a layover time of building his core. We've got one ready to roll. So this here is a street track. So this has a billet input shaft, and I will be upgrading the flex plate. And while we have it out, we use a hot flush machine. I'll flush all the factory coolers. Basically, it's simulating the warm transmission, and it's taking trying to clean all the dirt and grime and crap that could have been in the cooler from the previous transmission going bad. We're cleaning that out, getting a fresh new start so we don't have any junk going back into our new transmission.
Alright, we have Martin Levy's truck on the dyno. It's a 2006, has a Firepunk Comp 1 transmission, has extra G 200% injectors, a D&J stage 2 head, ATS dual fuelers, and a 363 475 compound setup. Still has stock bottom end, wants to try to make 1,000 horsepower, and still have a good streetable truck without blowing the bottom end out. So we'll see how much power we can get out of it safely. Alright, we got Martin's truck wrapped up. I ended up making 953 horsepower. He was hoping for a little bit more, but he had a 363 turbo on the manifold. It was just choking things up a little bit too much. So he has the fuel to make over 1,000 horsepower, doesn't quite have the air for it. So he was planning on getting a bigger manifold charger hopefully this year, maybe next year, and try for that 1,000 horsepower mark after that. But so 953 horsepower on max effort tune and 609 horsepower on tune 1, Then he also had a water methanol kit on his truck that he wanted to try on tunes 3, 4, and 5 and just see what kind of power improvements that we could see. So tune 3, just fuel only, was 762 horsepower, and then with the water methanol kit made 815 horsepower. So there was a good bit of power increase there. And then on tune 4, on fuel only, made 934 horsepower, and with the water methanol kit made 952 horsepower. So that was only a 20 horsepower gain. And then on the max effort tune, he actually lost power with the water methanol kit. So that was just some things that he wanted to try out, and now that he knows what kind of power his truck makes, we will send him on his way.
So I'm working on putting Tom Mines' triples back together. We had some issues with them pushing oil a little bit. We did have the one turbo had a thrust that needed replaced, so we ended up replacing that. We also think we had a little bit of a over-oiling issue on these front 2 turbos, the atmospheres. The drains are wide together into one drain, being there's only a total of 2 drains on these blocks. So we're downsizing the feed lines from dash 6 to dash 4 to try to cut down on the oil, and we're thinking there was probably backing up in the drains some. So hopefully that will resolve our issue.
All right, we have Travis Long's 2006 automatic truck. It was in an earlier video where we were updating his current trans. We updated it to a Comp 2, I believe. We also installed a D&J head on it with valve springs, thread-in soft plugs, and their heavy-duty push rods. Also, Extra G 250% injectors. It has dual fuelers, just 2 stock pumps with a 472. I want to say it's an 8310 turbo on it. So he still has a stock bottom end. So he wants to make as much power as he safely can. So we'll see what kind of power we can make. So the second pull on Travis's truck was a 1300 US tune, and both of his pumps were running wide open. So we started doing some digging, and the top FCA is not working at all. You unplug the controller, it doesn't go to max rail, nothing, it acts like it's not even working. So I'm going to change that out, and hopefully that should fix our problem. Alright, so after doing some more diagnosing on Travis's truck, it wasn't just an FCA. He ended up having a bad CP3 on, or one of his dual CP3s was bad, the top pump. So we ended up changing that out, and it actually made rail pressure. So his Tune 1 made 747 horsepower. Tune 2 made 841 horsepower. He likes doing some street racing in Mexico, and so he asked us to not say the exact final number on Tune 5, but it did make 900 plus, made something over 900 horsepower. So if you want to know the exact numbers, then you can look him up on Instagram or on Facebook. So I'll get it off the dyno and send him on his way.